Hello, boils and ghouls. My name is Ashley, and this week I watched episodes 3 and 4 of Only Murders in the Building. Let's recap what we know so far. Charles is most likely the intended target. Whoever the perpetrator is has the passcode to that empty apartment, as well as access to both towers of the Arconia, and possibly those secret passageway tunnels that have been mentioned in previous seasons, including a believed to be closed off one that connects both towers. At this point, it could still be anybody, and I am this close to making my own murder board. Episode 3 opens with the detective showing up at Charles's apartment and basically unofficially giving them the green light to go ahead and investigate what happened to Saz. I say unofficially because she's really not supposed to be doing that. Although honestly, she should just bring them on as civilian consultants at this point. As she says, it's been 3 seasons and it's New York. They could probably use the help considering how long Charles spent on hold for the entirety of episode 2. While she's there, the actors show up to shadow their counterpart to try and learn who they are and understand them better so they can portray them better on screen, right? Pretty sure they said it was only for 1 day, so I'm not really sure how much good that'll do, but okay. I'm sure we'll see them again at some point. Eugene and Charles are basically the same person, so he'll have no problem. Eva Longoria is straight up just trying to create her own version of Mabel. No matter how many times Mabel says that's not who she is, that's not the kind of thing that she does, for example, drinking at 10 a.m. Honestly, Mabel has more patience than I do, because if I was in her situation, I would be reminding the person playing me that you're not really playing a character, you're meant to portray a real person, and you should be trying to do so in the most genuine and accurate way possible. But that's just me. I mean, they already aged Mabel up. The least they can do is keep her personality the same. We know Zach Galifianakis is not thrilled to be playing Oliver, or even to really be part of this movie, it seems. Flat out says that he thought this would be an easy way to make money, but manages to convince Oliver that he's connected with him and is finally happy to be playing him. They spend the whole day together, they go shopping, there's a whole montage set to the Perfect Strangers theme song, which I loved that show as a kid. I was surprised to hear it mentioned so often. Maybe it'll be important. Oliver and Howard, poor Howard, end up overhearing Zach Galifianakis on the phone basically shit-talking Oliver in this movie. And imagine my surprise when Howard comes to Oliver's defense. I mean, he, doesn't really make excuses for him. He's just not sugarcoating who Oliver is. But he's saying, Oliver's still a good person and the way you're acting is, unnecessary. And that was a very nice thing to see. Speaking of Howard, as I said, poor Howard. We get a lot more of him this time around than I think we really ever have. The entire run of the show so far, he's just kind of been a background character and a little bit annoying. And we really only see him through the perspective of the main 3, which is why he probably comes across that way. And now we're seeing him as his own character, his own person. They kind of, Mabel especially, all of them kind of lean on him to do the work they don't want to do. They kind of take advantage of the fact that he's there. He's just trying to be included and be their friend, and that's not where the 3 of them are at. So anytime there's something that comes up that conflicts with them going to investigate something, they pawn it off on Howard. When Mabel found that pig, she gave it to Howard to take care of because she was busy. And then the ham radio, they want to investigate the ham radio, but nobody wants to sit there and spend all day scrolling through frequencies and listening for things on this ham radio. So they give it to Howard, who spends hours listening. One thing that gets played is, again, the Perfect Strangers theme song. And somebody says to meet them at this number, and they figure out it's a frequency for the radio. When they find out who owns the empty apartment, Mabel, because clearly no one's living in it, Mabel decides to essentially, not essentially, she does, because she Googles her rights, to squat in the apartment because it's empty and we know she needs a place to live. She's doing it as a way to, yes, have a place to live, but also to try and lure the owner back but someone has to be continuously in that apartment round the clock. Well, that conflicts with the investigation, so who does she call? Howard. Underappreciated Howard. Turns out, you find out from the other tenants of that floor, that the guy who owns it is some retired professor, and he now lives in Portugal. He's the one that sends the bathroom ham. And they've all been basically illegally subletting these apartments from him for dirt cheap. And I'm not talking like New York dirt cheap, I'm talking everywhere dirt cheap, because it's like $200 a month. It's kind of a scheme because it's a rent controlled situation, and New York is very particular about their rent control situations. Anyway, she's got Howard waiting in that apartment in a big ass bed that she got from Eva Longoria because she didn't need to. And he gets lured out by a flyer that comes sliding under the door for auditions for the movie. Honestly, I thought the flyer was going to be complete BS just to get whoever was inside the apartment out. But it wasn't. He actually goes to an audition, auditions to play himself. He does not do well. Howard can't catch a break. I mean, he can't even get a role where he's literally playing himself. And we learned that his part has been given to Josh Gad, who honestly would be a good casting choice if this was a real movie. Obviously, though, when Mabel finds out, she is pissed. And Howard has finally had enough. He realizes she's not going to help with his podcast. They don't appreciate him. They really don't. Honestly, I feel bad for Howard, and I'm glad he finally stood up for himself. So the trio then takes the ham radio from Howard. He's given everything back, the radio, the pig, everything. He's done. So they go to the number that he heard. They realize it's a frequency. I think Oliver realizes it's a frequency, which kind of surprises me. I don't think Oliver's usually the one that figures things out. And they make contact with the person on the other end, a woman, who said, the last person that came around here asking questions ended up dead. They assume, as do I, that that person is Saz. According to the other people on the floor, that's just Rudy, aka Christmas All the Time guy's crazy ex-girlfriend. I'm not writing that off too quickly. Also, I think it's funny that, like, he's Christmas All the Time guy and his name is Rudy. Like Rudolph. Anyway. Back when they still had Howard picking up their slack, doing their grunt work, they go to like a stuntman bar that Saz used to frequent. And the people there are less than accommodating when Charles is trying to ask them questions, because they are upset that they weren't capable of giving Saz the traditional stunt performer funeral. The bartender also makes a good point about how they're just making money off of Saz's death with this podcast. The only person willing to help is the stunt double of Ben Glenroy, named Glenn Stubbins, and he's also played by Paul Rudd. I wasn't expecting that. I don't think we've seen a guest star come back and play a different character, but I like it, and I like that he ties into his previous character. With his help, Charles realizes that he needs to stand in for Saz at this stunt performer funeral, which entails him lying on a pool table while having breakaway bottles smashed over his head and people sharing their memories of Saz. One bottle, however, was real, which is unacceptable. The other stunt performers were very upset, and it causes a whole fight. But it knocks Charles out, and every time Charles is sleeping, he dreams about Saz. He's no longer, like, hallucinating her. She's not in the room with him anymore. It's completely only in his dreams. And she's leading him somewhere. She's covered in injuries because he has guilt of all the injuries that she sustained doing stunts for him on Brazos. But she's leading him to her paradise. They figure out that this paradise is Paradise, New Jersey, where Saz was planning to open a training facility, the Saz Pataki training facility, right? So of course they go and they check it out, and as they're walking around, it's clear no one's been to this place in a very long time. There shouldn't be anyone there. It is very rundown looking and needs a lot of work. But they walk past the building and they hear a noise inside, and in true podcast detective style, they have to go look and check it out, right? Oh, imagine my surprise to see who they found inside. None other than Bev freaking Mellon. Honestly, I hadn't even thought of her the entire 2 episodes, and I think they even showed her during Howard's audition scene. Wasn't expecting to be adding Bev Mellon to the murder board. What the hell is she doing there? How did she even know about the place? Is she in on what happened to Saz? Is she trying to create a story for her movie? Find out next time on Only Murders in the Building. That's all for this video. Please feel free to subscribe. Click the like button if you feel like it. If there's something you'd like me to watch, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys next time. Be excellent to each other. Bye.